I kind of like this thing of storylines continuing on in the background. Like, things are happening and they seem like it's at rest, but then they pop back up later. Because this is kind of how things are in life, right? And so here we have it where the last episode ended with Lou getting drunk after speaking to RAQ. And in his drunken state, going to unburden himself, kind of bridging off of the conversation that he had earlier on in the episode with Famous, right? This thing of unburdening yourself, speaking your truth, right? Getting it out, getting it off your chest. And in his drunken state, he attempts to do so and goes to speak to Scrappy's mom, where he pretty much unburdened himself that he knew what happened to Scrappy, that Scrappy did not die by suicide, as she had been told that he'd been killed. And from Lou's perspective, that he allowed it to happen. Now, from the preview clip, I knew that Scrappy's mom was going to go into the police station and, attempt to speak to the cops. But it was kind of unclear what the details of that would be. So, in the course of this episode, we see that actually where, I think Peng was the detective's name, had been her handler, as she was like a snitch. We learned that from the second season, and this kind of played a role in the whole discomfort about whether or not Scrappy was a snitch, right? And that Scrappy was solid. He was probably doing something shady, but not necessarily snitching. His mom was really the snitch, right? Where she had this, gambling den going on, card game, and was passing along information to the cops. And so she had a pre-existing relationship with another detective, Peng. And so while Howard is trying to, is having a meeting with one of the feds and trying to get some information about what they know about Marvin and other people in the area, he kind of hits a stone wall there, but notices Scrappy's mom talking to Peng and kind of intercepts them. He sends Peng to go and speak to the feds, and in the meantime, he takes over the conversation with Scrappy's mom. And the reason for this is, you see that while there's still like this unhealthy and dysfunctional relationship between RAQ and Howard. Because at this point in time, it's like Kanan's out there doing his own thing. There's no real reason for them to continue interacting with each other. With Scrappy's mom, and then I guess part of it too is that he has his own reasons really for stepping in, which is that he passed along the intel, the flawed intel, to be accurate, to RAQ about Scrappy being a snitch. So that's his end. It's not necessarily about Kanan. It's probably more so self-preservation. Trying to figure out, well, what does she know? And is there any way that this can blow back on him, to think of it? And so with that, he intercepts Scrappy's mom and sits her down, tries to find out what she knows, what was she told exactly, and pushes to find out who told her what. And initially she's resistant to naming her source, just that, someone told her that Scrappy had been murdered. And he's able to talk her into revealing who the person was. And we as the audience know it already, but it's a shock to him. It catches him by surprise that the person that told her was Lou. And the implications of that are just going to be terrible. He's able to kind of put her off for the moment by telling her that, if Lou was drunk at the time, his confession, basically, to her wouldn't necessarily stand up in court. Now, how true that is, I don't know. But it's effective, probably for the time being, to keep her quiet. And then as well, because she has concerns about being branded a snitch, for previously being a snitch, like with her card game thing, and then now going to the police with this information, she runs the risk of someone trying to do something to her, like chiefly RAQ. Granted, she doesn't know that RAQ was involved at this point, but whoever it was that killed Scrappy, and then probably just regular people on the street that she's probably had dealings with. And so Howard, in his role as like the law enforcement cleanup man, does what he can on his end to kind of tidy up the situation. But as we know, with him and RAQ, where they go back and forth and the two of them end up getting into nonsense as a result of these meetings, that he's guaranteed to run and tell RAQ. And RAQ, in turn, is going to feel compelled to do something about it. It's the same thing last season as that when he told her about Scrappy and she killed him. It's the same thing as when, Howard voiced some concerns about Symphony. And fortunately, she did not kill him, but we saw that she considered it. So it's like these two, they really need to just stop with these meetings and go on about their business. But it's like at this point, them running back and forth and telling this and that one and passing along information and stuff, it's like they're just getting deeper and deeper into things. And they're both highly manipulative people, right? Where they try to manipulate situations and they think like they're really smart and they've got everything figured out. So you see where Kanan gets his nonsense from, really. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here. I think now with that, Lou is going to have some problems on his hands. I think RAQ's attempt to extend that olive branch is probably going to go away. And then Scrappy's mom might come to be viewed as a liability. Initially, based on Scrappy's mom, like, rolling up on Kanan with, like, the rap music playing and stuff like that, and her hosting this card game, I wasn't really expecting this kind of a response. I thought that she might try to hit back at RAQ. But now, granted, at this point in time, she doesn't know the details of what happened. So she'll probably get there eventually. But at this point, doesn't know that RAQ was involved. So she seems scared more than anything, right? She wants justice, but I find it surprising that she went to the police for justice rather than trying to get it for herself. So my sense is that she's probably not in the streets like that. Here goes RAQ and Howard having one of their shady meetups again. And he shares with her that, about Scrappy's mom coming into the precinct and whatnot, and specifically tells her that Lou was the one that told Scrappy's mom. Now, like I said, RAQ picks up on it that, well, he puts it on her because he looks at it as these are her people, right? Which is to some degree true. Now, RAQ kind of pushes back at that and says, the only reason that he's concerned is because he passed along the information about Scrappy, Now, obviously, RAQ is going to have to take care of Lou, like something to get him under manners. But I do find it interesting that the two of them, they squabble all the time. But RAQ asks what's going on with the task force, and we, as the audience, know that they're aware of Marvin. They're not sure what role he plays or whatnot, but he's kind of on their radar. But yet, Howard holds back that information. He doesn't share it with RAQ. He tells it that, they're still out here searching about or whatever, but they're not onto anything. They still don't know anything. Conveniently leaving out that Marvin is on their radar. And so even here we see this thing between them is falling apart. It hasn't been that long. It really started up as a result of the drama with Kanan. But even amongst them, it's like, it's been an uneasy truce and ally, but you can see that relationship is going to start to fray as well. I find it quite telling, that he kept that information back to himself.
Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, go ahead and click the thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.